I'm going to talk a bit about open source project I'm working on called Spectre.Console. The name comes from my company. It's called SpectreSystems. So I originally started it as a project that I used for my clients, and then it took off. And here I am talking about it. So who am I? This is the boring part, but we have to do it, you know. My name is Patrik Svensson. I'm from Sweden, and I live on an island outside of Stockholm. I have a daughter called Ada and a wife, Valentina. And I work as a freelancing programmer. Right now, I'm working for a company called Myriad, which is a startup in the trade finance space. And they're actually looking for skilled developers. So if you're looking for work, I should urge you to look them up. Except SpectreConsole, I also created a build tool called Cake, which has become mildly popular. I'm a Microsoft MVP and a GitHub star. I should mention that, maybe. I don't know. So before I start the presentation, there's going to be some words and phrases. And so I thought that maybe we should go through them before, and so everyone's on the same page. And by the way, English is not my main language, so bear with me. And if I pronounce something wrong or you don't understand, just write something in the chat, and I will try to explain better. So the word console, that's gonna appear a lot in this talk. It's even in the name of the library, actually. And console originally meant the physical device, like a screen and a keyboard. And another reason why I wanted to talk a bit about these words before I start the presentation is because these words have changed a lot due to history reasons. So, and the meaning has changed as well, depending on who you're asking. So I'm trying to just bring you all up to speed what I'm talking about, and what's the word? Yeah, and the current meaning of the word, as yeah. It's really strange not getting any feedback when you're talking like this. It feels like I'm sitting alone in a room talking. Really weird. Anyway, like I said, console originally meant the physical device, a screen and a keyboard. Nowadays, you use it synonymously with terminal. And a terminal comes from the word TTY, like a teletypewriter. And that was actually a physical typewriter without a screen that fed data to a mainframe and outputted the text on a piece of paper. But nowadays, when I say terminal, I'm talking about the software that displays the text on your screen, like Windows Terminal, for example. That's a good example, or iTerm on Mac. The shell, that's the interface running on top of the terminal, on top. Executing commands. An example of this are bash, CSH. I don't know how to pronounce it. I use it, but I can't pronounce it. Sorry. PowerShell, CMD, new shell, etc. And CLI, or command line interface. That's an application that accepts text input from the command line. So, for example, like if you write git commit -m lol, git is the executable that you execute, and commit -m lol is text that you pass to the application, and the application is responsible of parsing that text. So now when we covered some terminology, what is SpectreConsole? It's a .NET library that makes it easy to create beautiful console applications. And it supports Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. And when I built this, I didn't come up with all the things in the library. It's very, very much inspired by Rich, a library for Python that does, the APIs look pretty much the same, except that SpectreConsole is more C# idiomatic. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a very good .NET library if it looked like Python. So what is SpectreSystem? What isn't SpectreSystem? It's not a TUI, a terminal UI library. So we don't support like mouse buttons or mouse cursor or clickable buttons and things like that. And we don't do automatic redrawing of widgets. Like you can automatically redraw things, but that's an explicit choice that you make. It's not like you add a widget and it will be constantly updated. So what problems does it solve? It makes it easy to display static or semi-static rich content, such as tables, trees, progress bars, formatted text, prompts, charts, and a lot more. And it also makes it easy to parse command line arguments passed to your application. This is probably one of the less known features of SpectreConsole, that it actually contains a command line parser as well. And the most important thing is that it hides a lot of complexity associated with console apps. So, for example, it generates a lot of ANSI VT code generation. VT is it's short for video terminal. It's like HTML for the HTML for the terminal, you can say. It's like more like a mix between HTML and OpenGL or something like that. That's state driven. That you write some tokens to the console output, and the terminal would pick that up and change the color of the text that's coming, or clear the screen and move the cursor and stuff like that. And the reason why it says ANSI VT is because VT, the video terminal, that was specific to specific devices. And in the 70s sometime, they tried to make a standard because it became out of hand. There were so many different devices and different commands and stuff like that. So they tried to standardize it under ECMA 48, I think. So it's just a language to speak with the terminal. And when you're using like a terminal on Linux or Mac OS, and recently Windows with Windows Terminal and the new Kona host, they actually have this VT code processing. So you can write VT codes and display text in different colors and underline text and move the cursor and stuff like that. SpectreConsole also supports detection of terminal capabilities. So, for example, does this terminal even support VT or ANSI codes, ANSI code sequences? Like if you're running on cmd.exe on Windows 7, it won't support that. It just display garbage. So we need to know, does this terminal support this? What color system does the terminal use? 2-bit, 3-bit, 4-bit, 8-bit, 24-bit? Did the user opt in to not displaying any colors at all? So we need to take that into account when we draw stuff. Like and are we even writing to terminal? Maybe the terminal it has been redirected. So you're writing to a file. You don't want to write ANSI VT codes to a file. You want to fall back and just write plain text. And is in Unicode supported, can we output something, things like emojis or other Unicode characters? If we can't do that, we want to fall back on something that's a simpler terminal knows how to render. We also want to know how many cells does this character occupy. Like if here you can, it's easy to think that each cell takes up one space, but it's not. Some Unicode characters and Asian characters might take up 2 spaces. So if we don't know how many cells each character occupy, we're going to do calculations wrong. And we're going to see this misaligned tables and garbage output and stuff like that. And we also need to keep track of, like, is the current terminal suitable to display complex output, like status displays, progress bar, widgets that we live update. So we need to move the cursor and redraw or clear the lines, and dynamic prompts where you select items and stuff like that. So SpectreConsole does all this. It provides you with an API that will work across all terminals. And when I say all terminals, of course, there are subtle differences, and we can't guarantee like 100% it will work everywhere, but we're doing our best, and it's better than, it's a lot of code that you don't have to write, to be honest. So I talked a bit about colors before, about the color support and detection of color systems. SpectreConsole supports, I don't know if you heard about the no color environment variable. It's like an opt-in thing that if you go to your terminal, bash, and write no color equals true, and all the applications that support that will show you no color. You can guess that by the name, by the way, no color. So we support it out of the box. So if the user specify that they don't want colors, we won't draw any colors. It supports, like I said before, 3, 4, 8, and 24-bit colors. So you can display images or have really write really rich UIs in your console terminal applications. And we also do auto conversion of colors. So if you specify a 24-bit colors, like a RGB color, we will actually, and your terminal only support 8-bit colors or 4-bit colors, we will actually downgrade the 24-bit color to the closest one in respective bit range. So, I mean, of course, it won't look as good on a 3-bit color system, but it will look okay. You will be able to convey what you're trying to show to the user. And that's a really powerful thing, that you don't have to think about colors. So if we move into like things that SpectreConsole can do more non-abstractly than colors, write in text. If the terminal support it, we support all the ANSI text decorations that specified by the ANSI and VT specifications. So bold, demetallic, underline, strike through, reverse, blink, and also links. And this is Windows terminals, so it actually supports. I can click this link and it will actually, which might not sound like much, but when you think about it, every time you get an exception or you have a link somewhere and you have to copy that link and open a browser and go to it. It's really convenient. Of course, this is not supported if you're running like Windows 7 or 8, or your terminal need to. I think it's like Windows 10 Anniversary Edition that supports these decorations. And if you want to output this text with SpectreConsole, we have this BB code-esque language. If you remember the bulletin, and not bulletin board system, but the forum software. So you can write text like this, like B bold, and a close tag, and it will display the text as bold. Or you can write this like this, link, and then the link URI and the link. And the same goes with colors. So here we draw 6 colors: red, green, blue, cornflower blue, crimson red, and black on red. And this we can express as like the names of the colors. And these are the Xterm 256 names. And there's a list of them on the homepage as well, if you want to know. And they're actually, if you write color dot, when you have the SpectreSystem, the SpectreConsole namespace, when you included the SpectreConsole namespace, this will light up in IntelliSense. But you can also specify the RGB colors directly, or hex colors. And you can, of course, change like we've done here, you can change the background of the text by just adding the on. So black on red. And this, my terminal colors right now are a little bit, how can I say it? It doesn't look like black, but trust me, it's black. And you can also adjust text and justify it. It will automatically word wrap text when it reach some kind of boundary, if it's a table or a tree or the edge of the screen or whatever, it will word wrap it. And you can also change the alignment of the text, like I've done here. So this one is left aligned, this text is centered, and this is right aligned, which is more useful than you think when you're building console applications. So if we move on to tables, this is probably one of the first things people want to use SpectreConsole for. Is like, I have this data and I want to display it in form of a table. And yeah, we support tables. So it's used to represent tabular data. And it implements something called iRenderable. And all the widgets in SpectreConsole implements this interface, iRenderable. And everything that's iRenderable can be used together with other iRenderables, which means that you can nest them. So in the tables, in the table example, we can put a table inside a table inside a table. You know, like the meme. I heard you like tables, so I put a table in your table, something like that. And so what does this look like? Here we have a very simple table. Feels like I've been saying table like 30 times, maybe I have. We can make it, expand it so it takes up all the available area. And we can put other iRenderables inside the table. So here we put another table under item 2, and we put in a bar chart as well in the third row. We can adjust alignment of each cell, each column. We can change the border colors of the table. And we can change the color of the things inside the tables as well, using the markup language I showed before. And you can change what kind of border you want, like, do I want a square border, or round border, or a double line, or heavy column border? Yeah, there's a lot of different borders. You can even have like markdown if you want to let the user copy something and post it in a GitHub issue. You can post it, you can render it as markdown, and it will keep the alignment as well of the tables. I don't know if you can hear my daughter in the background, but I can. Yeah, there's a lot of different styles you can use, like that. And moving on to trees, that's another thing that people have asked about before, and something that I found really useful in my own console application is you have some hierarchical data that you want to display, and a tree is a perfect way of displaying that information. So like I said, it represents hierarchical, that's a different word to say, hierarchical, yeah, data. And it also supports nesting of these irenderables. So here you have a pretty basic tree. It has a root and some children, some nested children. And you can, of course, like the table content, you can give them different colors and attributes. You can expand and collapse items as you want to. You can put other irenderables inside in multiple levels. So here we render a tree that contains some markup and a table, and at the end here, after the table, there's a breakdown chart. That's one widget I won't show you in this presentation except now. But there's a lot of controls like that in SpectreConsole. So that's pretty cool. But you can also like change the line guides, the lines, if you want, like, if you want bold lines, or I don't know what you call it, double lines. Seems redundant. Or regular lines. So I realized when I was writing this presentation that there is so much content to SpectreConsole. I can't cover it all. So I'm just going to give you a list of things you can do. I'm going to try not to sound like a used car salesman when I'm telling you the different features, but it got tables and trees and canvas rendering, image rendering. You can actually render images to the console. You can render pretty exceptions. You have something called a live display that can, where you can have one widget and you can keep updating it. Like if you add stuff to it or remove stuff, it will automatically update. So if you want to draw a graph or something that's updating in real time, you can use a live display to do that. Sorry, I lost focus here. There are progress displays if you have long-running tasks that you want to show how much is left or how much has been downloaded or processed or whatever. And status display to display a spinner and some text that you can update in real time. Useful when you download something or processing something that there's not a clear progress. Maybe you don't know how long something will take, or just want to say, we're working on it. Don't turn off your computer. We got support for different kind of text prompts where you enter text, as well as selection prompts when you select something, and a multi-selection prompts when you select many things. Like it will look like a tree structure, and you can select items and you select them. It supports bar charts and breakdown charts, so you can show your data like I showed in the previous slide. You can draw horizontal lines and calendars. We support rendering figlet text. I don't know if you know what figlet text is. Maybe I can show you actually. If I have a browser available. This is figlet text, if you can see. It's this graffiti-like characters. Oh, I actually have one in the demo, so in the slides, so you will see it actually. Like I mentioned in the beginning, it supports command line parsing. It's a kind of an opinionated framework, but personally, I really like it. Maybe that's why it's opinionated. We can take a look at that as well if someone wants to. It supports drawing panels with data. If you want to frame something like a table or a tree and it looks alone, and you want to frame it with something, you can use a panel. Sorry, my daughter is really playing out there. It supports row layouts. So if you want to put multiple items in a row, you can do that, as well as column layouts, where you can, if you have 10 items that you want to evenly divide on the screen, it will actually calculate how to fit them best on the screen and draw them. Maybe you have 10 panels of something that you want to display. It will lay them out in a evenly way. And rich markup, like I mentioned before, where you can use this BB code-esque language to mark up your text. A lot of support for different colors, simply, and much more. I actually gave up here last night. I was too tired, but there's a lot more in SpectreConsole. Like there's add-in for rendering C# code in the console for syntax highlighting and stuff like that. And yeah. So since I didn't create slides for all of this, I thought I would show some demos just to see what SpectreConsole can do. And I'm not gonna do too many demos, but some things are actually better to see than just seeing the slides. So I'm using something called dotnetsheff. And these are the examples that comes with SpectreConsole. So if you clone the SpectreConsole library and just write .NET you will get this screen. So first I was thinking maybe I should show you the progress display that I explore now. Example, progress. And now it's building. So you see it's, oh, maybe it was too fast, I don't know. It will render the progress bars, and everything that's rendered during this will be rendered on top of it. So I'm actually writing to the console at the same time that the progress is updating, and the progress bar will always be at the bottom. So you can continue drawing tables or source code or whatever, it will still show up as normal. The columns here are configurable, so you can change them out you can write your own columns as well if you want to, like all these columns you're seeing. This is a description column, this is a progress bar column, percentage column, time remaining column, I think that's called, but you can write your own. You have the same data as these columns have, so you can display downloaded bytes or number of completed tasks or whatever you want to. And another similar control is the status control, which works the same way. So you can still update it while I really like Star Trek. If you have any questions about that, so you can write to the console and write stuff during the update, and it will just continue, like won't mess up the rendering or anything like that. And it supports different, like you see here, it supports different kind of spinners. So you can choose the one that looks best for what you're trying to accomplish. We also have the, like I said before, the columns. Here I'm feeding the column widget with 10 panels, and it will lay them out and find the most efficient way of rendering them on the console. And this can be tables or trees or whatever you want to render. It will fit them nicely. I spent too much time on that, to be honest. And another thing I wanted to show really fast is exception rendering. So normally when you have an exception in console application, it will look something like this. Sorry, my daughter is knocking on the door, so I get a little bit distracted. Normally when you have an exception that you render to the console, it looks like something like this, and it might be kind of difficult to parse. Not parse programmatically, but when you're looking at it, when you're trying to find what went wrong. So we actually added pretty exceptions to SpectreConsole, so you can colorize them to show stuff that you're actually interested in, like the messages or the methods that failed and what file. And when you render an exception, you have a lot of options what to show and how to show them. And you can choose, like, maybe you don't want to show namespaces in an exception. You just want to show the do magic, or you want to turn this one into a link. So this is a compact exception, the same one as we saw. Oops, sorry. Forgot I'm not in a slide anymore. I can't go back. Sorry. This is the original one, and this is the last one. And you even have, these are even links now, so you can click them. Windows Terminal doesn't support this. It says this link type is currently not supported. So, but on Mac OS and Linux, it will actually open the file if you click on it. I think it's an improvement, because I don't want to try to parse exceptions. I have better things to do, like writing code. I don't know if there's any more samples that I should show. There's a lot, not a lot, but there's more than I've shown. If anyone wants me to show anything, just say something and I will go back to it. I don't know, Kevin, how much time do I have?
I think you've been going for about 40 minutes, so whenever, really.
Yeah, so maybe I can talk about really quick what's next. It's we're currently approaching 1.0 of SpectreConsole, so the API and ABI will be stable soon. After that, we will continue on the 2.0, which will contain some rewrites of some internal stuff and make it better in general. but 1.0 is coming out pretty soon. So that's all I had to say about this. Thank you for listening. Surprisingly few people who disconnected, to be honest. And when I have any questions, or I'm happy to answer them.
There's one in the chat, and I put one as well.
I didn't see it. What? Oh, that's typical. I said that I would answer stuff in the chat, and I completely missed it.
Yeah, so Richard put do things fall back gracefully in all the terminals. I don't think command prompts can handle emojis.
Can you say that again? Because I can't find
yeah, so do things fall back gracefully in all the terminals, so like emojis.
Yeah, not emojis currently. We're planning on doing that. But we can't really fall back gracefully on emojis because there's really nothing to fall back on. Maybe emojis you could actually fall back on the like old school text emojis, I guess.
Yeah,
that's actually a good idea. Maybe I should add that. yeah, why not?
Somebody said they did drop off, but they came back because their internet connection. What does the code look like, by the way, to all this? I've not actually even looked at it, so how do you go about creating, what does the code look like?
Can you say that again? Sorry.
What does the code look like underneath for kind of,
the code?
to actually create this?
Yeah, I can actually, I was planning, the thing is that I'm super bad at preparing talks. So I never know if it's going to be 10 minutes or 40 minutes. So I always prepare some kind of demo, to fill up the time. So I actually prepared something here, like a recipe finder. Can actually take a look at it before I run it. Using a public API. It's less than 40 lines of code where you select the ingredients. Like we want beef and salmon, and broccoli and kale and lamb and meat. And we get some recipes back and we have to choose one. So of course I want to choose the pasta shepherd's pie. I guess some English people and Italian people will be really upset by that combination, maybe. I don't know. And it displays the ingredients. And actually it should, if there's an image, it should display the image as well. Really low res, but it's there. So the code for this looks like something like this. But maybe I can just erase this and just show a little bit. So I want to do a table, for example, just write new table. And we add some rows, add some columns to it. So we add food and...
Can you just zoom in?
Just a minute.
Sorry, what?
Can you zoom in a minute?
Oh, sorry.
Zoom. It's a bit small.
Is that good?
Oh, yeah, it's good.
Perfect.
Yeah. So let's add 2 columns like that. And now we can just add a row. That's foobar 1 and 2. And then we do, since this table here, like I said before, it's an iRenderable, and everything that's renderable you can pass to the render method. So if you just run this again, we get a table foobar 1 and 2. And of course we could create a new, like second table. Just copy these. Second table. And then we add the second table here. And there's no implicit conversion between iRenderable and string. I will fix that, but for now you need to actually add a markup renderable like this. So if we draw the table now, it looks like we have a table in a table. And then everything else is, and that this goes for all the controls. We try to keep the API consistent, but everything is a fluent interface. You can set the properties directly on the object, but we deliberately made a fluent interface. So you can write like a table with rounded border and has alignment to the, which is right aligned, and where you hide the headers, and you can add like table. How did I add it? Yeah. And if you want more control over the columns, you can do like things. You can instead of passing a string, you can just pass a table column called bar. And here you have more options if you want to like pad it or pad a column, or don't wrap this column. Set the footer. Lol. Why not? And I don't know, center it maybe. So if we run this again, we will have a right aligned column. The second column is centered. Yeah, I don't really know what I was doing, but you get the same thing if you want to you can set the border color, and here you have all the external 256 colors. So I want to make the border color yellow, and maybe you will want to set a caption for the table as well. The end, like that. So all the control, all the widgets. I think we decided on the term widgets for SpectreConsole renderables, but all the widgets implements this iRenderable, and the API looks similar. So it's more or less create a control, you add your data, and then you can manipulate it via these fluent methods. But sometimes you cannot use fluent methods, or you don't want to, so you can just set things directly as well, like hide headers. Like this, for example, or table border color. I think maybe this one didn't exist. You get what I'm going at here. Yeah, that's more or less it. And the same thing with if you want to render like everything is an extension method upon ANSI console is just, by the way, ANSI console is just a convenience thing, because a lot of people are very familiar with the system console APIs. So just to make it easy, if you just want to render some things to the console. But if you want to use this if you want to inject your console, or if you want to test your console, we have a test consoles as well, because ANSI console really is like this. So if you add, I'm gonna add the testing. Let's not do that now. But there is a full testing console you can use to compare output and stuff like that. Yeah. Sorry, I was rambling there for a bit. Hope it's okay.
No, that's really good. Thanks. Can you update table cells based on events? Did you get that? There's another question in the chat.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, there's nothing stopping you from adding a table cell when you receive an event. but there's no callback to specify on the table or something like that, if that's what's being asked.
I'm guessing maybe if it gets re-rendered, so if you add maybe change the actual cell in the table, would it get automatically updated?
Yeah, what you can do in that situation, I can actually show really quickly, is you have this live. Maybe I didn't update the latest preview. All right, I didn't update properly. So if we update, so now this should light up. So if we have our table, for example, we can set the table as our target, and we can start it, and we get a context which we can use to update the table. So we can use like refresh. So here we can do a thread. Someone, I don't know if you hear my daughter in the background, but someone is having a lot of fun. So for example, if we just want to this. I just want to add directly to the table, add column like that. And if we run this now, unless I make any mistake, which is quite possible, something is really weird. Okay, that's actually a bug. Let's do like this. Can you forget that you saw that, please? And that's embarrassing. Oh no, sorry, add row. I'm sorry. So now it will, okay, maybe 1 second was, let's make it 250. So you can actually, if you have something like this, like if you have a while loop or something like that, you can have an event that adds items to the list, and you keep continuously updating it, I guess. Yeah. Not sure if I was answering the right question here, but yeah.
That's pretty cool though. Does anybody ask any questions? Feel free to unmute yourself if you have.
Oh, thank you, Stefan. I was really happy with using Spectre to show Spectre as well. I thought it was really clever.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive, to be fair. Very clever.
It was a great way of dog fooding it, actually. Actually found some things that I want to change. Yeah.
Somebody asked you what your Powerline settings are.
My Powerline settings. Actually, I have all my settings at github.com/patricksvensson/machine. And here I have all my setup scripts and configurations. So it's actually in the config for Windows Terminal. So you can. So when I set up a new computer, I just clone this repo and I run a script, and it will create symlinks for everything. And I don't have to bother with it. It's really smart. Not my idea. I'm not saying that I'm smart. I'm just saying the idea is smart. Yeah.
Cool. We got another question about the command line parsing. What
Yeah,
does that
sure.
look like?
Do we have time or?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, sure. So there's a billion command line parsers. Yeah. I of course I like mine. I wouldn't have written one if I didn't like it, but it's kind of opinionated. But what you do more or less is that you create a command, and nothing. It's called my command. We inherit from the command class, and we have the settings for it. So we have a CL class my settings. Nothing strange so far. And we just say that we have a command of my settings. My command dot my settings. So we can just add like a parameter here. So we call it an option called foo, which accepts a value. And we have a execute. What this library does different than most other libraries, it's that the commands are completely separated from how you compose your application. So normally what you do is that you create an application and you configure it like this. So you can say that, okay, I want to add a branch called Sheffield that takes the base type, my command, my settings. You don't have to do this, but I just want to show. And then you have what should happen when this command is invoked. So I want to add a separate command called my command, and I'll call it foo. So all the command and their settings are separated from the actual composition of your application. So if you want to rearrange the command line, what can I call it? The public API or whatever you want to call it. If we write like run help now. Of course, when you have an app, you also have to run it. So let's pass the args, returns an integer, and it's not a sync anymore. Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't prepare this, so it's best effort. But now you get a command called Sheffield, and if you run that one, you will get okay. I accept a value called. You have a command here called foo, so we can call foo. And since the branch also accepts this settings parameter, we can pass the settings already here. So foo2. I shouldn't call it foo as well. Anyway, foo2, call the command foo. And we didn't implement the command. But if we create another command, and we extract these settings to like base settings, my app settings, and we have this one accepts my app settings, and this one accepts my command, which inherit from my app settings. Which because it's sealed. Price counter from the program my app settings. Why?
The settings are still sealed.
Oh, sorry, I unsealed the command. Sorry. And this one, why is it complaining about this one? Does nothing. Actually change the signature. So now we cannot. So we add a, what do we call it? My app settings. No, my app settings. Ah, there. So what we do here is we actually limit we have a generic limiter here. So Sheffield, all the commands from here on, it can be any command as long as the command somewhere in their inheritance chain inherit their settings from my app settings. So if you're building a Git clone, you would have like a Git branch settings as the base, and then you build all the subcommands for branch out of that. And you can just compose them however you want. So can you send my command to R, and of course you can even reuse commands however you want to. So you can add it down here as well, with the same name even. So if we want, yeah, to remove that one. So when I get the bar command there, that's the same thing as running the Sheffield bar. Yeah, sorry, I haven't prepared anything. I'm not sure how well I'm explaining this, but I would say that the main takeaway is that you can keep the CLI application and the commands separated in a way, and you can compose them however you want them to. That's what I wanted to do, and there was no libraries that did just that. Otherwise, I wouldn't have written this thing. Yeah.
Cool. I don't think we've got any more questions today. Thanks for sharing that. It's really good.